A man accused of badly beating his girlfriend is now charged with hunting her down and killing her. How state lawmakers are trying to protect victims. Allowing banks to charge you higher interest rates on your mortgage. The potential fallout for home buyers and sellers. The disappearance of a college student acting as a reminder of spring break dangers. What a former FBI agent says you should never do. And the Mid-State's boom not impacting every county equally, the areas behind in growth, and the place set to take off. Plus, girls in STEM, the engineer igniting a passion for science. Fox 17 News at 9 starts now.
Middle Tennessee's only primetime news. This is Fox 17 News at 9, your Code Red station.
This is the first step. This is a step that should have been passed many years ago.
In Operation Crime and Justice, state lawmakers want to give Tennessee judges the power to deny bond in more than just murder cases. Supporters say it is about protecting victims. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar in studio after a resolution to amend the state's constitution passes today in the state Senate.
Scott, these are some of the faces of victims where police say those responsible were out on bond to reoffend. Tennessee lawmakers are making progress to prevent that from happening again. Victims' families say this resolution is a step in the right direction. We warn you, some of these photos may be graphic.
Across the Mid-State, we've reported on several accused criminals out on bond, suspected of committing even more violent crimes. For example, Bryson Rivers. Metro Police say he beat his ex-girlfriend Lauren Johansson almost to death in Nashville. After a judge reduced his bond, police say he hunted her down across state lines and killed her. Johansson's father, Lance, says the system failed his little girl.
These people don't need to be back on the street.
The right to bail is in Tennessee's constitution, but this resolution would amend it, allowing judges to deny bail for more than 70 serious crimes, like especially aggravated kidnapping, which is one of the charges Rivers faced.
I think it's a great step that, this is common sense.
Those opposed argued this plan would overcrowd jails and cost the state more money. Jeff Clayton with American Bail Coalition also says bail is a constitutional right.
We just don't see this as having any impact on crime.
Johansson says this is an insult considering he will never hold his daughter in his arms again.
If it was their daughter, I guarantee you they wouldn't be up there talking about how much it costs to keep somebody in jail.
Johansson tells me there's still some concern if judges will make the right decision, but nevertheless, if passed, he tells me it would make a difference. The next step is for the legislation to be voted on in the House, and then in the 2026 gubernatorial election, voters decide if they want to pass the effort to deny violent criminals bond. Reporting live in studio, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Well, what do you think? Should Tennessee judges be allowed to deny bond for more than just murder charges? You see the number of people have called in so far, actually voted, I should say, 268, and more than 9 in 10, 91% say yes, Tennessee judges should have that discretion. If you'd like to weigh in, scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to our X page. Our handle is @FoxNashville, and we will update these results for you later in the newscast. Covering the Capitol, pushback to Joe Doge's plans to cut Veteran Health Administration contracts. Fox 17 News' Hope Salmon questions the VA secretary who was in Nashville today about how those cuts could affect mid-state veterans.
In a press conference today, Senator Blackburn and other members of Congress addressed that there have been quality care issues with the VA's office for years. What they didn't share is exactly where those cuts would come from and how it would impact the process now. Thousands of cuts are coming to the VA department through the Doge initiative. The list of contracts on the chopping block here at the VA hospital in Nashville has not been made public. Government officials say that although 80,000 workers will be laid off in an agency-wide reorganization scheduled for August, VA Secretary Doug Collins believes this reorganization will help the VA hospital in Nashville run more effectively.
I've been told you're letting go. I know what that's like in life, and it's not easy, but we're still going to provide for our veterans and for their communities the best service we can, because that's what the people demand and their tax dollars deserve.
One thing Collins did say is that they're working on creating a better health records management system. Reporting in Nashville, Hope Salmon, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Now you can see all of our stories on the impacts of DOGE and its cuts on the Fox Nashville YouTube channel.
It could change the rates. It could raise the rates as much as 2 points on second mortgages.
In the economy, state lawmakers are considering a bill that could make buying a home in our state more costly. The measure they're looking at would increase the cap on interest rates in Tennessee, but some lawmakers are pushing back. Fox 17 News' Chris Knowles now with more on the numbers and how they could impact your bottom line.
Right now, the current mortgage interest rate cap is at 8.6%. If the Senate Bill 749 passes, it would take that up almost 3% to 11.5%. Today, I talked with lawmakers to see how this would affect the housing market. Senate Bill 749 changes how interest rates are set for home loans. Right now, the current interest rate is 7.5%. That number is set by auction or bond yields. If the new law passes, rates will soar 4% above the state average. I asked bill sponsor Senator Kenny Yeager about the widespread impact, especially for first-time home buyers.
This bill would not affect that at all. This bill only affects people who already have a mortgage on their home, but are taking a second mortgage on the home. And generally, to answer your question, that first mortgage would probably be their home loan. So it would not affect the home loan mortgage market.
Although Senator Yeager says the bill doesn't affect regular home loans, the language in the bill clearly states home loans are included. Some Democratic lawmakers are against the bill for that very reason. We talked with a realtor who says this could create impending doom in the market.
Mortgage rate increase going from 8.5 to 11.5 approximately would be devastating to a buyer. It's simply not going to make home ownership affordable at all.
Despite the increase, Senator Yeager predicts the exact opposite happening.
It will make them more competitive. It will make I'm reluctant to say the word easier, but there will be a greater market and more choice and more availability of these loans for consumers.
In a statement, Senate Democratic Caucus spokesperson Brandon Putbree says Tennessee families are already struggling to afford a home, and Republicans are making it worse, going on to say it will push home ownership further out of reach and drive families deeper into debt. The bill will be voted on Thursday. In studio, Chris Knowles, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Not too bad of an afternoon today. It was a little on the cool side, only reaching 57 this afternoon, but I think we all enjoyed the sunshine. And we'll have another sunny day on tap for tomorrow. Live look from our South Nashville camera. Again, relatively quiet night ahead. In fact, we'll call it cool for the overnight, dropping back to about 40. And this is what I like to see. A nice, clear, quiet picture from our radar. Which, again, was not the case this weekend. So good to see a nice break from storms, from rain, but unfortunately won't last too long. We are already in monitoring mode, the potential for a small chance of severe weather. Nowhere near what we had this weekend, but we are at least looking at, I would say, the potential for a couple strong thunderstorms with wind as the primary threat. It's not going to be a big tornado maker for us, but wind will be the main concern as we move into Wednesday. We'll dive into that here coming up. Broadway's quiet for us and temperatures sitting already in the upper 40s. It's chilly out there with a mainly clear sky. Overnight dropping back into those low 40s, if not upper 30s. As we get out towards the plateau, even Lebanon around 38, Gallatin at 37 degrees. Coming up, we'll walk you through timing for when we could see a few strong thunderstorms on Wednesday and how the first weekend of spring is shaping up for us. That in your Fox 17 Code Red forecast. Scott.
Katie, thank you. Also ahead, Middle Tennessee growth by the numbers, the county preparing for a population boom. And a word on spring break safety tonight. What a retired FBI agent says you and your children should never do. Our new Growing Nashville segment is about the good and the bad associated with the boom in our region, and what a boom it's been. Past 15 years, the population has exploded, but that growth is not the same everywhere. The map behind me shows the percentage of growth in Nashville and the surrounding counties according to the census between 2010 and 2022. As you see, Williamson County led the way, nearly 42%. Wilson County is next, followed by Rutherford County. But Cheatham and Robertson counties have not grown nearly as much, 6.9%, 13.8%. But Robertson County leaders feel like things are about to take off.
Welcome to Springfield, the county seat of Robertson County. Population 19,000 and growing.
The word's out. I mean, Robertson County is a great place to live.
County Mayor Billy Vogel has lived here his whole life, and he feels the winds of change. From 2010 to 2022, census figures show his county grew by an average of 1.4% a year. But from 2020 to 2023, that number jumped to 5.5% a year.
Yeah, we love it here. The Greenway especially is what we've taken a lot of family trips there.
Web developer Steve Hoving and his family are part of that new growth. They moved to Springfield 2 years ago from Nashville to buy a house.
It was safe and affordable. That was really what we were looking for. And since we have a little girl, she wasn't born at the time, but yeah, that's what we were looking for.
Mayor Vogel says 60% of the people in his county work in Nashville. Affordable housing is one of the big draws. The median home price in Springfield is $340,000, more than $200,000 less than Nashville. But Mayor Vogel says the growth his county is experiencing comes with a hefty price tag.
My EMS guy was here today. We're fixing to have to purchase another ambulance at $226,000 to help furnish the White House area for services. We do the trash, as I say, and we're also doing the schools.
Vogel says a new high school would cost around $100 million, and he worries about how to pay for it. The county's only had one property tax increase in the past 8 years. Mayor Vogel says they won't be able to hold the line much longer.
We're going to have to do something to help our school situation. I'm really worried about, each county can only borrow so much. It's based on your fund balances. And we're not where we can build 2 schools in 1 year.
I think growth is good. It's good.
Salon owner Steve Honey has lived in Springfield for 40 years. He says change has been slow to come to his town, but he sees the signs.
I know it needs to grow, but I don't think it should take and tax people out in order for it to grow, because that's exactly what's happening in Nashville.
While Springfield is growing, leaders aren't trying to do away with everything that's old-fashioned. In fact, they committed to spending more than $1 million to rehab the historic courthouse, which suffered significant damage from a leaky roof.
The historic courthouse is a fixture on the Springfield town square. That is unlikely to change. But Mayor Vogel says explosive growth could change virtually everything else.
It's our turn. It's coming this way. We got to be smart about it.
For the record, there are 12 cities in Robertson County, more than any other county in the state. The fastest growing of those, White House, which is, of course, right off I-65. Mayor Vogel says the county needs both industrial growth along with residential, though, to help pay for schools and the other infrastructure they need. New tonight, Nashville city leaders take up pedestrian and cycling safety in a meeting downtown this evening. Members of the public shared ideas with members of a city advisory commission about ways to make it safer for people who aren't in cars. 33 pedestrians were killed on Nashville streets last year. That's 7 fewer than the year before, but of course the city's goal is 0. Weather-wise, Katie, for a while there, I thought spring was upon us, but now I'm afraid we might see something closer to 0 than 70 in the next little bit.
This week, we're going to see a little bit of everything, actually.
Welcome to Middle Tennessee.
Welcome to Middle Tennessee, and that really is the definition of spring. You're up and you're down and you're all around, really. But yeah, later this week, we could see temperatures near freezing. Nice, good frost, freeze. So hopefully, I know this warmer weather gets everybody in the mood to start planting. Hopefully we haven't done too much yet because we still have time before our average last frost freeze for the spring season here. But tomorrow we're going to be nice and warm, so you may get that bug again to plant. Hold off, a little too soon. A lot of folks will say, wait until Mother's Day to plant. Live look here from Springfield. Things are pretty quiet for tonight. Beautiful but breezy Tuesday. We were at 57 today. We're going to be at 75 for tomorrow. So we really are on a roller coaster ride for the week ahead. There will be the potential for a few strong thunderstorms on Wednesday. I am not overly concerned with our severe weather threat, but it is a threat. So we will talk about that, and we're going to time it out. And then as we get into the later part of the week, as I mentioned, we're up, and then we'll come right back down as we head into early Friday morning near the freezing mark. So again, we'll call it monitoring mode for now. If the trend continues that we see the potential for a few strong thunderstorms, we will most likely slip into our code red alert, just to give you that heads up that yes, there may be 1 or 2 strong thunderstorms, but again, it's going to be a level 1 out of 5 threat. It does not look overly tornadic either. This is more of a wind threat for us. The moisture for Wednesday is marginal, which is why I'm not overly impressed with our severe outlook for Wednesday. But there's going to be a lot of wind shear to contend with, not only here at the surface. Winds outside of severe weather chances are going to be pretty breezy anyways. It'll be a windy day, but above us as well, there's going to be a lot of wind, and that may just be enough to spark a few strong thunderstorms with damaging wind is the primary threat. So we walk you through future track. Tuesday's fine, so we'll start with Wednesday. This is by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This looks to be an afternoon evening event. Showers and a few rumbles of thunder around. Again, this is 5 p.m. and notice that it's going to be scattered across the area. You may or may not see rain out of this front as it works its way through the area. 6 p.m. on, those showers starting to shift east of I-65. After 9 p.m., I think we're starting to see an end to our rain and thunderstorm threat for the evening, and then overnight things really begin to taper off. Now, Thursday is going to be much cooler, and some of the models hinting at maybe a little mix of rain and snow. I don't even want to bring up the S word. Would not even be very heavy, but there it is. That would be Thursday morning. We'll talk more about that. We get a little bit closer to the actual time, but this time of year, it's pretty typical, can be typical to see a little bit of mix still as we get these little cold bursts of air coming in. Gusty winds, regardless of any storm chances. Tuesday we'll see gusts up to about 20 miles an hour, up to about 25, 30 mile per hour wind gusts outside of thunderstorms. We'll talk more about the colder air, walk you through future track for the rest of the week, and more on the first day of spring coming up.
Katie, thank you. Just ahead, spring break safety. The conversation a retired FBI agent says every local parent should have with their children. New tonight, the U.S. Postal Service makes a deal with the new U.S. Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. The Postmaster General signed an agreement he says could save taxpayers billions of dollars. The first step is to look at ways to cut costs at the nation's 34,000 post offices. The USPS employs more than 500,000 people. No word yet on a deadline for those potential cuts. New tonight, new concerns about spring break travel after an American college student disappears while vacationing in the Dominican Republic. Joining us now with a travel warning for mid-state families is retired FBI agent Scott Augenbaum. Scott, as always, I appreciate your help with this. This is spring break time. How dangerous do you consider overseas travel like the Dominican Republic?
I have 2 kids, 19 and 22. And I'm going to be honest, I don't want them going out of the country because it's so much more risky than staying in the States.
Sure, it's not particularly, 100% safe anywhere, but what's the most important thing to remember during trips like this overseas, for instance?
Always stay on the property. Avoid too much alcohol consumption. Don't go anywhere with strangers. And I know it's spring break, that's the whole point, but we have to be on our guard. As parents, we got to drill that into our kids.
And it's not just overseas stuff. Nashville is a big tourist destination, and, there are potential problems anywhere you go.
Yeah, if you're going out, no matter where you are, stay with a group of people. Have the buddy system. Check in. Don't go off with strangers. Watch your drink like a hawk, no matter where you are. There's so many reports of people getting their drinks spiked.
I reviewed the timing of the disappearance in the Dominican Republic case. The young woman there, college student, was last seen around 4:50 a.m. And I can remember a warning, from years ago when I was young that nothing really all that, good happens after, say, 12 or 1 a.m.
No, that is so true. And, you know, young people want to go out. We were in their place at one time, but really being out that late, being with strangers, you have a mixture of alcohol that plays in. It's a recipe for disaster.
Scott, any parting shots before we break?
Yeah, parents, really sit down with your kids. It's so important because a lot of this stuff easily could be prevented with just a couple of pieces of information.
Good conversation for us to have and hopefully for other parents to have with their children. Retired FBI agent Scott Augenbaum, as always, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Only 14% of the engineers in the United States are women. Why? That's a really good question. And a Middle Tennessee woman is trying to change it. You'll meet her next.
Also, we had weapons detection in more metro high schools where the rollout stands tonight.
News Farrier Files is sponsored by Bart Durham Injury Law.
A Middle Tennessee civil engineer spends her free time these days encouraging girls to consider a career in engineering. Diane Dameron calls engineering an artistic approach to the scientific method. As Fox 17 News' Dennis Farrier shows us in tonight's Farrier Files, she shares that message with any girl willing to listen.
When you see a beautiful bridge, you might not see the structural engineering that went into it. When you see a plane against the setting sun, you might think, my goodness, lift and thrust are exceeding weight and drag. But it's all engineering, beauty, and numbers.
Any questions before you get started?
Diane Dameron is back at her old stomping grounds, Battleground Academy in Franklin. A very accomplished civil engineer, Diane still has to work hard to hold this noisy room.
Listen, guys.
But she loves every minute of it, loves being an engineer, and loves striking an interest.
I want them to look at me and say, hey, she made it, and to think, I'm a female and I can make it too. Whatever it is that you want to do. And I think you got to get them young.
Only 14% of engineers in America are women. This room looks a lot like that statistic.
Any girls in here interested in being an engineer?
About the same number of people who would volunteer for dental surgery. But that doesn't discourage Diane. She has an approach. Design something, anything, with markers and a piece of paper, a blank canvas. Some of the girls get it.
So we have our different restaurants here.
A food court and a playground, drawn to scale. It has a nice feeling.
When it all just comes together, it kind of just feels like accomplished, you know, like you did something that like just it all comes together and works as one kind of big system.
It's not for everybody, that's for sure. Some struggled with such a wide open concept. The other engineering exercise, build a load-bearing paper bridge. Again, not everyone a winner. But get it right like this group?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
A lot of people took a different approach and like made them bigger, but like not many folds, but we knew we had to make them like folded so it could be thicker and more sturdy.
Like we said, not all the girls had the same success, but then again, this isn't about making every girl want to be an engineer, just the ones who would be really good at it and don't even know it.
Engineering is basically an artistic approach to the scientific method. And I think that's, again, leaving the world a better place than we left it.
And you can do it without a pocket protector. Look at Diane Dameron, a woman, a great engineer, no pocket protector. I'm Dennis Farrier, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Fox 17 News Farrier Files is sponsored by Bart Durham Injury Law.
In tonight's Crisis in the Classroom, an update for you on the effort to put weapons detection technology in every single metro high school. Fox 17 News' Johnny Maffey tonight to show us where things stand.
A Metro Nashville school spokesperson tells me that Overton High School and Hunters Lane High School are the next two for the Evolve weapons detection rollout. This isn't your typical TSA airport metal detectors. It's also a different system than what was in place at the time of the shooting at Antioch High School when Jocelyn Diana Correa Escalante lost her life. The Evolve detectors use AI to try to scan weapons in pockets or bags and backpacks. I actually walked through them a few times at Bridgestone over the weekend, and you can keep your phone and keys in your pocket. MNPS does add that Overton High School and Hunters Lane High School will install the technology on Tuesday, and it'll continue at a rate of 2 new schools per week after that. In Nashville, Johnny Maffey, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
For First day of spring this week. In fact, it is on Thursday. We will welcome the new season, I think, with open arms. Starting to see more of the warmer weather rather than the cold weather, although, ironically, on Thursday, it'll be one of our cool days, only expected to reach the low 50s for the afternoon. Just for perspective, the average high, given the first day of spring, around the 20th to 21st, is around 64, and the average low around 41. But as I mentioned, it does look like it is going to be a chilly first day of spring with temperatures in the 50s, and then overnight into early Friday morning will drop to around freezing. So I'm going to go back to future track here. This is late Wednesday night. Showers should be clearing out. As we head into early Thursday morning, I have seen this on a few models. Yes, maybe a light snow shower or two mixed in with some rain. I would say best bet would be Cumberland Plateau. This would be very early Thursday morning. Higher elevations, possible we could see maybe a snowflake mixed in with that rain, but that should be about it. But what a way to welcome in the new season, spring. We'll talk about the rest of the month, how temperatures and rain is trending. It's in your Fox 17 Code Red forecast.
Tennessee Vols with a quick turnaround to start the NCAA tournament. What head coach Rick Barnes says is the key going into the weekend.
Don't ever take it for granted. I mean, I've said it before, I thank the good Lord for the blessing of being at Tennessee, these opportunities, because there's thousands of people who'd love to have a chance to play in the NCAA tournament.
Head coach Rick Barnes has been to the NCAA tournament 28 times throughout his coaching career, including 7 with the Tennessee Vols, and he still refuses to take it for granted. Tennessee earning the number 2 seed in this year's tournament, where the Vols will face 15-seeded Wofford in Lexington, Kentucky. Coach Barnes saying he's excited for their fan base since they don't have to travel very far for the game, but he also noted the quick turnaround. Vols just got done playing in the SEC tournament just yesterday here in Nashville, where they fell to Florida in the SEC championship game. Now, Vols with just 3 days before they tip off against Wofford on Thursday, and coach says the key to winning their regional is treating it like a weekend tournament.
It's a 4-team tournament. When you break it down, and that's what we got to get ready for. Obviously, Wofford got a lot of respect for the program, that university, and then we'll try to get that one, get to the next one. And so it's 4 teams going together in a weekend tournament.
The Tennessee Lady Vols back in the tournament for the 43rd straight year, the only program to have played in every NCAA women's basketball tournament. First-year head coach Kim Caldwell and the Lady Vols receive the 5th seed, will face number 12 South Florida on Friday in Columbus, Ohio. Coach Caldwell is no stranger to the postseason. She led Glenville State to the Division II National Championship just 3 years ago. When asked about whether she talks about that championship run with her team, Coach says she doesn't need to.
I'll tell them a whole lot of stories about that national championship team. I don't really know that they care. I think that it's about them. It's about where we are. I think we have enough history in this program right here. And when we tell stories of what we have learned and what we know about former Lady Vols and what they did to win their national championships.
Coach Caldwell referring to the 8 national titles Pat Summitt and the Lady Vols have won over the program's time. Lady Vols eyeing hopefully another long tournament run starting this Friday, 7 p.m. Central tip-off from Columbus. Jill Jelnick, Fox 17 Sports, your Code Red station.
Jill, thank you. Now, a programming change for tomorrow for Fox 17 News. This morning, you can catch the 4 a.m. and the 8 a.m. hours here on Fox 17. But because of Major League Baseball, our 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and 7 a.m. hours will all air on CW Nashville.
Coming up, temperature trends through the end of March. Are we done with winter? We'll have the answer.
And fighting fraud in the nation's capital, the key players in this ongoing battle. The new U.S. Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, is leading the charge to cut government waste. Now, at the same time, others are trying to trim the budget. In tonight's Spotlight on America report, Fox 17 News' Angie Moreski gets exclusive insights from key players who've been in the trenches for years.
we knew it was going to be bad.
Rebecca Shea has been in the game fighting fraud for 2 decades. You guys are the watchdogs for taxpayers.
We are indeed, yes.
She's director of the Federal Government Accountability Office Forensic Audits and Investigative Service Team. They were among those predicting massive fraud was likely during COVID.
There was a little bit of a wake-up call with the pandemic. I think there is greater attention to it now.
Shocking cases of fraud against the government were exposed during the pandemic. Billions of dollars stolen by both individuals and foreign criminal groups making fraudulent claims for government benefits. But Shea says all too often some government agencies still are hesitant to admit they are victims of fraud.
Our response is, well, if you aren't looking for it, you're not going to find it.
Her team produced this stunning report last year, estimating the federal government loses between $233 to $521 billion to fraud every year.
That 521 billion number really kind of, it's eye-popping.
It is.
What does that say about our efforts to fight fraud against the government?
It says that we need to do a better job at prevention.
This is from the dark web, and these are individuals that are stealing from the state of California.
LexisNexis Risk Solutions government CEO Haywood Talcove has also analyzed fraud for decades and says the onslaught of artificial intelligence tools is making it even easier now for criminals to circumvent government benefit systems.
So help you God.
I do.
At the first House subcommittee hearing on DOGE, Talcove was first to testify.
The use of AI is fundamentally changing society, but in the hands of criminals, it has become a weapon.
He warned the public sector is lagging far behind in fighting fraud, with the private sector averaging a 3 to 5% fraud rate compared to government, which he estimates at 20%.
The fact of the matter is the 50 states don't talk to each other. The federal government doesn't talk amongst its agencies. And what that does is it enables the criminals.
COVID exposed weaknesses in government systems, like failing to verify identities up front, allowing self-certification for applicants, and failing to cross-check between states and agencies to reduce duplicate and ineligible applications.
Is cross-checking between states for benefits still an issue?
It is still an issue.
Some states still not doing it. Is that frustrating?
It is frustrating.
Shea says there has been progress with more fraud prevention tools being used now, like the Treasury's Do Not Pay list. It allows checks across multiple agencies to determine things like if a person is deceased, in federal prison, or delinquent on taxes. But Spotlight checked the Do Not Pay website and found only about half of states are using it.
What do you think when you see so many that aren't making progress?
Disappointment.
In February, the GAO put out its high-risk fraud list. It identifies areas with serious vulnerabilities for fraud, waste, and abuse and is updated every 2 years. Of the 38 on the list right now, the GAO says only about a quarter have made progress since 2023. For Spotlight on America, I'm Angie Moreski.
Find out if your state is using fraud tools like the Do Not Pay list to go to SpotlightAmericaInvestigates.com and click on this story and then look for a link where you can check for it there.
Chilly as we head through the overnight to tonight as we drop back to around 40 or so, which is right around average for this time of year, but it was a little cool even this afternoon. Only topping off in the upper 50s. Pretty view from our Metro Center camera, nice and quiet, and that's the way we like to see it here. Let's jump ahead to the weekend. It'll be the first weekend of spring, first full weekend of spring. Temperatures looking pretty good in the upper 60s to around 70, which is a little above average for this time of year. Better chances of rain coming in on Sunday. Right now, just some scattered showers expected as we head through Sunday with maybe a stray shower for Saturday. Also, tomorrow morning, again, I mentioned cool conditions. We're looking at mainly clear skies, though. Another beautiful day, plenty of sunshine, and those temperatures climbing as we get into the mid-morning. We will jump from 57 today to about 75 for the afternoon tomorrow. Now, our rain chances here, we do have a few of them. We talked about the potential for a few strong thunderstorms Wednesday and early Thursday. We'll look for a few showers as well. And then we get into the weekend. You notice that small chance Saturday and Sunday, and more so into Monday. And to our south and to our west, there is already a potential for severe weather going into the late half of the weekend. This is just outside our viewing area, but I mention it because it is a little close for comfort. So for now, we'll keep it as something we are watching. Sunday into Monday would be, I think, our time frame that we're looking at, probably more into early Monday here. But the main threat does look to be more for Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and most of Arkansas. So we will watch that as we head into the early part of next week. Then we take a look at the rest of March. This takes us from the 25th through the 31st. Our temperature trends right now, kind of in that what we'll call equal chance category, where we're not really in that above average or below average category. We're kind of clipped by the cooler than average conditions here for the end of March. And as far as precipitation goes, I really don't see any strong signal either way. Case in point, I mentioned a little earlier, of course, way too soon to start planting. I don't think we're completely done with the cold weather just yet. I do think we'll kind of continue to see these little bouts of cooler temperatures around, easily looking at some frost, a handful of frost still before we can close the book on our winter months. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. This is a true spring forecast right here. 75 for Tuesday and Wednesday, 52 on Thursday, 64 on Friday, and back to about 70 as we head into next week. We are looking at a chance for showers again Sunday into Monday.
What's the timeline for creating a budget that's lower than the last and for balancing the budget?
President Trump answering tough questions about our nation's financial health. His message just ahead in an exclusive interview. And cashing in on discount gas, the power of convenience at Costco. In a recent one-on-one interview with President Trump, Full Measure Cheryl Atkinson went off topic a bit with a few questions from viewers.
Last thing, I'm going to read you a couple viewer questions and you can answer any you want or skip.
Okay.
One line maybe. What's the timeline for creating a budget that's lower than the last and for balancing the budget?
I hope we can do that very soon, maybe even now. I'd love to be able to do it. We had big budget meetings with the Senate, and I think that there's a chance we could do it right now. We're going to give it a shot.
Can we reform taxes to eliminate the need to file?
Well, it's possible. You know, if the tariffs work out really well, you wouldn't need income tax. You know that. If tariffs work out well, our country at its richest was during from 1870 to 1913. That was the richest, and we were an all-tariff nation.
Do you put ketchup on your steak?
Yes, I do.
That last one, very interesting. You can see our full interview with the president on Full Measure's YouTube channel. Check it out. Homelessness, of course, can happen to anybody, and that's why our parent company, Sinclair Broadcasting, and the Salvation Army are teaming up for Sinclair Cares From Homelessness to Hope. This initiative is dedicated to raising awareness about homelessness and highlighting the life-changing services that provide hope and stability. If you would like to volunteer or make a financial donation to help, you can go to sinclaircares.com or you can scan the QR code on your screen right now. Your generosity can give a homeless person hope or a hand up to someone who is just one financial setback away from crisis. Just ahead, the power of convenience, the decision paying off for Costco customers. In consumer news, Costco making it easier for customers to fill up at their gas stations. Now, during their earnings call today, Costco announced that it's going to keep its gas pumps open longer, extend the hours. Some stations will stay open an hour later, some will open an hour earlier. Currently, only Costco members or those with Costco shop cards can buy gas at Costco.
Looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow today? It might be in what surrounds this pot, those green foods that are really good for you. I'm Liz Bonus. What's on the list to help your health? Just ahead.
Democratic divisions growing deeper after last week's deal to avoid a government shutdown. I'm Matt Gelka in Washington, and I'll have the story coming up.